throw a pebble, skims across the middle of the map and hits your opponent's natural. It's kind of fun.
Yep.
Always good to have a new rush map there to kill each other on. My stream can't hear you. Now they can hear you. All right. I think I'll turn you up just a little. Okay, so guys, we are doing What If Wednesdays. Used to do this with me more as a caster observer. Trying a new format today. Neuro has been kind enough to come on. If you guys are by any chance watching my stream, you're not watching Neuro's stream, go ahead, look at the link in chat. There's a multi-Twitch link. Go give Neuro's stream a follow and whatnot as well. You can watch from our alternating views. And this is actually really key to this show, is you guys want to watch from both our points of view, because the whole rule is that basically we play a custom game. We've got a map back order. It's going to be Protoss versus Zerg. Let's say Neuro just destroys me with a big roach rush, right? I am then going to say, okay, now because we're both competing against each other, we're not going to be talking in between the games because we need to keep it secret from each other what we're going to change. What we do is I'll say, I needed to build some immortals earlier to stop that. So I'm going to resume from 4 minutes into that game, and I'm going to start an immortal on my robo. And I will tell you guys that on the stream. I will only be telling Neuro, hey, I'm restarting from 4 minutes. Neuro has to play the same build until he sees something different from me as the rule. So the winner goes in with a kind of big disadvantage if the loser can appropriately adapt their play to what the winner did in the previous game. Sometimes the winner will keep winning the games because they smoothly adapt. Sometimes we just keep seesawing. The loser wins the next game, and then the other guy gets a chance to resume and change something up to adapt to the adaptation. And it gets really meta and interesting, and sometimes we get to see some really fascinating things. Sometimes one of us really messes up and just loses 6 games in a row. Either way, at the end, we'll hop on a call and have a discussion. Any questions, since this is your first time on for this, Neuro?
We're doing the test map, right? Or no?
That's a good point. I don't think I created with that. Let's hop out of there. You're smart. So yeah, Stalker's actually better against Zerglings now. Everyone's been talking about the Stalker nerf. 90% of players don't realize they kill Zerglings faster now. Because they shoot faster. So that's going to be awesome. My chat's saying they still can't hear you. All right, can you speak for me, dude?
Yeah, so I just wanted to let everyone know that if people are playing Zerg and they rely really heavily on the Hydra all-ins, that's getting nerfed pretty hard because you have to research 2 things now. So I'm going to be hosting a really big pity party. We're going to have lots of tissues and pillows, and we're just going to sit around and weep and kind of curse David Kim's name. Am I good now?
To mention that those disruptors don't fire off. They don't have that silly delay on them anymore. So disruptors are actually really frightening again. So in this matchup, I do feel like Protoss is, I guess all around, Protoss is getting a little bit stronger in this matchup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't think there's really anything weaker. So this should change up the dynamic a bit. Will give me a bit of an edge going into it. Obviously, this is super preemptive, so we don't want everyone to be crying balance immediately afterwards, because both of us are going to suck at the changes to some extent. Because it's basically, we played a few games yesterday where we're not really sure how to adapt. We'll figure it out as we go. Hopefully, you guys can learn something. And yeah, should be good, man.
I'm ready.
All right, so let's hang up the call. We will call each other again after the series is over. We're kind of going to be running 2 separate shows within the shows. Of course, the winner can kind of try to imagine what the other player is going to try and change in their play, but they're not allowed to adapt to it until they see it. That's the rule. We're going to see how it goes. Good luck, have fun, my man.
All right, let's do it. Okay. I think I'm going to do it without music just so I have more headspace stuff, and also so it can be put on the YouTubes and people don't block it in certain countries or whatever. As much as I love music when playing StarCraft, rip. Backwater. Okay. The first interesting question that players have on new maps, as a Zerg especially, is where can I put my overlords? I don't really know. But if they get shot down horribly, then you know where they can't go. Can you hear that ambient sound? It's like little jungle creatures making noise. They have their business to attend to. I can respect that. Okay, the first thing we test is the IQ test. When does he send his probe? Did you hear that, dude? I got my base. So now there's a fun question of, how do I want to play this out? I think it's good whenever you have a new season to just play your old style and see how it pans out. So I like to go hatch gas pool. And I like to create a little cubby for spines and stuff. I've been a fan of Hydrabane, but more in the realm of going for fast +2 melee attacks, so it's still more focused on Lingbane. Hydra is more of just an augment to your Lingbane army that makes you a lot harder to kill. It's not really the main idea of what you're going for. Okay, I'll just take this base. I'm not super attached to one or the other. I kind of like these nature sounds. This is legit. I think this like jumbled mess is safe. Is that a high ground thing? I don't know. Let's get an overlord outside the natural. Ling speed. 4 lings. Okay, adept. Lings. Overlord will pop. Pop! Overlord. So I have 1 queen and some lings to hold the door. Let's try this. I think I have a small window to kill this. Okay. Means right. Okay. Well, I think I got the worst end of that slightly, but this should increase the success chance of my wing drop. Oh god. Okay, let's go Phoenix. See him going for a 3rd here. Zoop. I want to get another upgrade. So melee and Pain Nest, and he could shade a bunch of the depth spells. Oh dear. Can I transfuse this? I don't have that energy. That's fine. Save the overlords. Nice stasis. Is he doing his like Hercon all-in thing? I don't think Overlord speed is helping me much here. If I kill that, he can make a depths. That's good. I'm gonna kill this too while I'm here. Let's get some vision. Kill the prison if I can. I need vision up here really badly. Where is it? I don't think he can sneak around the backside. I don't really know though. It's kind of the fun thing about playing new maps. Melee, Bane speed, Hydroden. That is our goal. It's nice that I have the watchtower. Oh, I have a lot more drones than I thought. That's good. Oh, dude. God, dude. This space. It's pretty well protected by the stuff that I have already. Oh, we could kill that, that'd be really good. Okay, let's go up here. What is this? Nice. Okay. Did I get my infestation pit? No. Crap. Crap, dude. Okay, I need to check for his fourth. He has giraffes. Okay. My worker count is lower than I want it to be. He has disruptors though. I don't really want to fight him directly if I can avoid it. I'd rather kind of run him around and then jam stuff into his face while he's away. Yeah, okay, good. Oh, crap. Nope. I can respect good force fields. Great force fields. Okay. Get around. And then I want to rinse and repeat. Do the same thing. If I could kill that, that would be great. I see you, baby. Can I get that up there? No, just too much space. I think I can try to get the queens up there. Is his army here? A lot of it is. Is it open? It's still open. Great. Okay, kill that. I'm gonna kill those. Where is his thingy-my-bobbins? Banes are good against those. What? How long have those been there? The face when you realize you're in AGM. How long have those been there? More drones? I think my economy was basically correct. Are the Hydra nerfs live? No, but we're doing the balance test mod, so we're playing as though the Hydra nerfs have gone through. So I had a little bit over 70. That's basically what I wanted. This was nice. I think I know what he would pick. It's the Lings shooting into the base. That would be my guess. Which Hydra upgrade do you recommend getting first? So the choices are range and speed. This game, purely by accident, I took the speed first, and I kind of like it because warp prisms are mega super fast, right? And if your Hydras are over on your left side and the prisms on your right side, a little bit of range is not going to save the day. He's in the replay? How come I'm not in the game? Did he rewind? Or, oh, he's looking in the replay to choose his spot. Okay, I see. I see. He was supply blocked when the Lings ran in? Oh, that is a bummerooski. Oh, yeah. What do you think of having the games go with no music? It's kind of cool. I feel like you're more listening to nature and tuned in with what's going on. Oh, yeah. ZvP has been my best matchup for the past couple seasons. For whatever reason, this season my ZvT is doing much better. I think it's mainly because I've been putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and it was kind of a matter of time before my Zerg versus Tyranid kicked off, because I had 62%. 16 games isn't a whole bunch, but I have beaten some good players like Jason. I'm glad that he's back. Anyone follow Juggernaut Jason? He says, alright. Restarting from 5:30. Okay. Alright. Right as your links were flooding across to my natural. Just then, at that moment, 400 Zerglings ran into the base. You hear clicking in TV? What's on the TV in the background? It is, I think, Critical Role? Or it's like, it's something related to that, I would guess. It might be a stream or something. Hey, Bali. Okay, let's do it. Ready. Is this recovering game? Or did he load the replay? I'm a little bit confused. Go for mutas this time, lol. What? I felt like my plan was good. It's a good plan. Oh, it is recovering, okay. It's time. The moment you've all been waiting for. The format where the loser gets a second chance at the time of their choosing. What about the person who's like, you know what, let's just have a fresh do-over from the beginning. I didn't like anything I did the entire game. Rip.
Jim Raynor, Artanis, Kerrigan, a random smattering of Zerglings. StarCraft II, Legacy of the Game paused.
Ready. Oh my goodness. This is an embarrassing moment. Okay, awesome, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Did I get my lair yet? No. Okay. Nah. Oh. Okay. So I think I busted through his wall there, or I killed the cybercore, right? Yeah. Nope. You can have one drone. That's better than last time. Let's get this base. I'm gonna get creep over here. Okay. No. Base. Did I get a Bane nest? Yes, I did. I think that's one of the hard things about doing this is you're like, what have I done at this game state? I don't know. I did lose a bunch of lings. You went to a different spawn here. Oops. Okay. Let's do this. This. No. Stalkers. No vision up here. This is weird that you can put stuff in the water on this map. Hype. Get a fifth base. Crap. Okay, got it. Let's make my sixth base. Oh goodness. He found it.
To the chopper.
It's not a super critical base for me right now, I don't think. Damn, he's really jamming in there. Greater Spire, come on. It's almost done. There it is. Crown is going to. Wow. I think I'm dead. You do have adrenalines though, which are very good against stalkers. The AI is not very smart right now. Oh, this base is alive. I'm dead, bro. Oh, he only has +1. I have this base. I think now I'm dead. Or... Oh dear. Okay, yeah, pull off gas. No! Oh, almost survived. Let's pull fully off gas for now. I have 700 gas. Wow. Wow. This map, I feel like, is one of the worst for Queen Hydra because the areas are all narrow. There aren't really any big open fields, so Broodlords are good. But as a Queen map, I think it's quite bad. Quite bad. His army isn't that big. I don't know how much I killed. Does he have this base? I'm gonna send some things out. Get some vision. Do you think I can win if I have one Broodlord? I don't think so. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow. Okay, that base is set up. Crap. Crap, dude. Look at that adrenaline versus stalker matchup. So good. So good. I got all the tech that I wanted, but he just killed all my bases. At the least opportune time. Those carriers too, yeah, super dead. GG. Nice. Neuro alive? No. The Overlord was saved. Okay. So do we start fresh now? Or do we keep trying to play out the same game? famous One Brood Lord build.
One brood lord. One mission.
Yeah, I think my early game was pretty bad. I would kind of prefer a fresh one at this point. The new maps are not Zerg friendly. I don't know about that. I think some of them are pretty good. Abiogenesis is just cheese friendly, it doesn't matter what race you are. Acid plant, I think that's fine. It's hard to kill Terran, but it's a good lane bang Uta map against Bio. Backwater, yeah, this one is kind of weird. It does seem pretty bad for Hydras, just because the paths are so narrow. So good Protoss map. Eastwatch, good Zerg map. Kind of, because you can take the fast gold. We can start from either. Okay. Okay, we're gonna start from 245. 245 from the first replay. Sure. It's pretty amusing watching from both streams Kappa. But by putting Kappa, that means that you're negating the statement that you just submitted, which means that it's not amusing. Okay, I see how it is. This feels very, you know, Captain Jack Sparrow versus Barbossa in Pirates of the Caribbean 1 kind of a situation. It's like, do you really ever win in this mode? Because it's just gonna like pop back up with something that's a little bit worse for you. Cancels out. You put an extra Kappa. Double Kappa? Oh my goodness, it's getting complicated. We need a math major. Is there a mathematician? Is there a statistician? Who can help us here? Can anyone help us? All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So here's a problem, right? I don't know if I've made an overlord at the present moment. I don't know if there's an overlord in production or not, but I know I need a 31 overlord. Let's say that I don't have one, just to kind of guess. Oops. Oh, this is my third. This is my second. Okay. I think we're okay. Gonna do it? Oh, he did it. Wow. Okay, let's go. Go. one. Okay, fix this. Keep saturating. Let's take this space. Just take it real quick. Instead of the other one. Just to mix things up, keep it fresh. Can I get this here before the Phoenix kills it? No. It's a bummer. It's a bummer, dude. A bit sad. This will be my 4th, 5th. Okay. Layer. Oh no. Oh, crap. Oops. I have to do this. Where is that prism? Oh, there it is. I think this is going worse for me. Man. I have a lot of drones, so that's good. I don't even know what that activated on. Come on, Bailey Nest. Go. Let's go, Bailey Nest. Let's go. Let's get some spines over here. Okay. Get that. Get to the chopper. Get to the chopper. Fifth. Huge army, run. Run. Drop. Fifth base, good. Fifth base, fourth base. You get creep over here. Go creep, go. Go creep, go. Why is there a drone? Oh. Chirp, 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 chirp. He doesn't have that many sentries. He has a couple. Where am I? I thought I did a counterattack with a bunch of stuff. Oh, he does have a lot of force fields.
Drones.
Oh, there's a Phoenix there. Poop. Did I counter it? I didn't. I don't think I countered it. Maybe I did. Huh? Oh. Let's get a base. Hello. There's a big army. Let's put in some changalangs. Oh, dude. Beautiful. They're in the corner! That's some good shit. I don't know what project David Kim is on, but I know that wherever he is in the world, he's smiling down on the Zerg right now. Yo. Oh. Maybe I should use the links to flank, actually. What? Oh shit, dude. Actually, that freed up supply for brutes. That's good. Everything went better than expected. Okay, let's go. Nope. God. Damn, that was a very strong push. I thought that was a pretty small army.
Get him. Get him. Get the giraffe. Ugh. Oh, God. Good job. Okay. Okay, does he have the space? The golden question. Yep. Alright. Could just sweep it and leave. Okay. Spreading creep in the water is interesting because I expect it to not work, but then it does. What? Did I not keep this? Okay, now I do. Okay, so now I think I need to do this. Because he has a good sense of when to backstab. And once I have this many broods, that's basically the only logical choice for Protoss. Okay, I think he's on to me with that. Oh gosh. Run. Mistakes. Surprise. Oh. Get him. Get him.
Harvest resource. Base race?
군단 병력이 공격받고 있을 때 말라버린 에너지 충분치 않음. 왕래 소진된
GG. The $1 million idea? Just give the Zerglings lightsabers. It's like a bunch of little Yodas jumping around. Yoda-san! Hi, Neuro. StarCraft related question. Your hair is so luscious. Do you use Pantene Pro V or L'Oreal? I must know. For conditioner, Pantene Pro V. It's really the conditioner that makes hair luscious, though, right? Shampoo makes it clean. If you get one of those combo shampoo conditioner thingies, that's kind of like making both Hydras and Mutas against Terran in the same game. I mean, sure, it's kind of more versatile, but it also doesn't do either job very well. Do you beat PiG often? It's kind of a mixed bag, I think. He's usually higher rated than me, but if I get either his Protoss or his Terran, I think I have a good shot. ZvZ, I beat him sometimes, but he certainly beats me more often than I beat him. I think the server has a pretty big amount to deal with, like who has the edge. Because he's playing in Australia, right? And if we're playing on a US server, I can register a command in the video game and the event happens. He has to like register a command and then wait a little bit and then see what happens, which is kind of a bummer. I get pretty tilted playing on Australia server, so I really respect his mental fortitude playing across the ocean half the time. I have heard that he has good internet though, relative to ANZ folk. They have shampoo commercials with the... Yo, if any representatives of Pantene Pro V are out there and want to sponsor me, yo, yeah, my contact email is on the webpage. Alright, he's investigating. What should he have done differently? 10:15. Okay, go. Right before the big push. A big push. Cancelled. This stream is sponsored by Pantene Pro V. God damn, my hair looks good. This episode of Neuro StarCraft Plays a Video Game is sponsored by L'Oreal. Shit, dude. I must have the best hair in town. Alright, recovering game. This is an interesting format. I feel like it's good practice in that you just have to make use with the pieces that are in front of you. Because you don't have that nice continuous line of, you know what you've been doing leading up to this moment. We're at this screen and I'm just looking at Artanis and Jim Raynor and Kerrigan and I have no idea what's about to be set in front of me. I do know that I'm going to be playing Zerg, which means that I at least have some idea of what's going on. You wonder if they would require hair flips? Probably. I don't know a whole lot about them sponsoring people in esports, but probably. That would be my guess. It's pretty cool. Alright. Keyboard, peripherals, Bally, and then you get the keyboard, the mouse, and the headphones, and the whole shebang. You don't need to feel sad. Peripherals is the command. Milo's telling people what for. Go, go. Okay. Is he gonna decide not to push? What is the deal? What is the deal here? Get this drone off of the army. Oh god. It's such an ambitious push, dude. I respect that. Thank you for the sub. Where that was. Did I get a hive yet? Oh, yes. I have a hive, but I don't have the greater spire, or the spire yet. And I need this and that. Let's just get one of these. Oh, saved. Hey now, take it easy. How many drones do I have? 92, oops. Didn't quite keep track of how much I've made. Yeah, could you kill some of those? Thanks. Thank you. It's very nice of him. He's a nice guy. Yep. Exile 5 Pig, he's a nice man. Pig, I've got a problem. I've got too many drones. Can you help me? Oh, that would be nice. Well, it would have been nice. Alas. Do I still have... I have 86. It's still a bit much. Okay, let's do this just to distract and stuff. And then I need to send another birthday present. Birthday present. Get him. Isn't it just really scary when there's like a crap load of bands that are just rolling around the map? Why do I have 30 workers in space? Did I make a... Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's take this. Let's get... I already have adrenaline. That's good. Let's get that. Get those. Get that. Come on, dude. Do the creep. Oh, dear. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just get some of this to go defend. I think I can chase him and fight. Where's that prism? What? Casio keyboard is loud. Well, I have brown switches, which aren't the loudest. Blue switches are very click-clack. You know this overlay? This overlay that's showing right now? Nico agreed to make me an overlay. Well, it was actually his idea. He was saying, if you get a keyboard that is not so loud, I will make you an overlay. And I said, alright, I'm fine with using brown switches. I'm fine with that. Sounds like I have blue switches in my mouse. Well, my mouse is just closer to the microphone than my keyboard is. Sometimes I do smack my keys kind of hard. Just because I'm hoping for something good to happen, I guess. Fighting Pig, yes. For people who are just tuning in, this is What If Wednesdays. And basically what it means is, what if it's Wednesday? And in my opinion, it is Wednesday. But a lot of people have different calendars. Like there's the lunar calendar, the Julian calendar, the Gregorian calendar, the Chinese calendar, and yeah, I don't know, but I think for most people it is Wednesday. I think there are some people who it may already have become Thursday. But no, for real. What if Wednesday is basically the loser gets to recover the game from a certain point where they feel like they made a big mistake and they can correct it and do better the next time. In your opinion, it's Thursday? Okay. Go. This seems like the same time in the game, is it not? Okay, I'm a little bit confused. Okay, I have my hive on the way, Greater Spire. Oh, what? Oh! I think that's good, actually. Because his units are expensive and mine are crap. So it doesn't matter if Zerg loses units. Hey. OP.
유전자 변형된 군단 별이 든 정답 확률이 오가려받고 있었어. 군단 병력이 공격받고 있어. 화물지대 말라버린 에너지 충분치 광맥 소진된
Let's get another base.
공격받고 있어.
Don't quite remember
군단 병력이 공격받고 있어.
what upgrades I have. Do I need... No. I need this, and this. Okay.
광물지대 말라버림. 여왕 생성 성공. 광맥 고갈됨. 광맥 소진.
Okay, it's high temp bar now.
병력이 공격받고 있어. 새로운 여왕 준비돼. 군단 병력이 공격받고 있어. 에너지 충분치 않음. 에너지 부족함. 광맥 고갈됨. 광물. 군단 병력이 공격받고 있어.
I killed this base.
콜라키아 직접 공격받고 있어.
How many drones do I have? 79? I keep making more drones. Because I don't remember how many I have. I guess I need to check when we load the things.
광물지대 말라버림. 광맥 에너지 부족함. 군단 병력이 공격받고 있어.
Okay. GG.
군단이 진화했어. 콜라치가 직접
Seems like he's come to that it's a pivotal point in his downfall. Well, I mean, when you're maxed, a lot of times you can just kill the opponent and win the game. I'm not sure. I guess I should have used rewind. This is fun to fight. I'm trying to think of a good point to take the game that's not boring. Because that's like the same, we've done the same fight multiple times. He wonders if I think I could win if I'm your thought that... What? Are you using a Mac? Certainly not. Hmm. You didn't get caught in the tower choke point? Yeah. Streaming from his Sega Genesis. Okay. Well, I'll take the advantage then, because that's kind of the point of this, right, is to figure out where you can do something different and get pretty ahead. So we've done this same spot like 3 times now. So if I keep doing the same thing, it's not going to be as effective. I've been splitting off a bunch of Ling Bane and going for a big counter. So he has the opening build. I think the big advantage here that I can create for myself is knowing how many drones I have at the point when we load the game. Oh dear. Oh dear. So he's very supply blocked right now. This is a good spot. Okay, I have 84 drones right now. He's taken a base. Where is his Phoenix? This feels like map hacking to me. Where is his Phoenix? There it is. Okay. Doesn't have a Phoenix over here. I have +1 ranged on the way. There's this here. Okay. I don't have an infestation pit yet, but my Bane nest is on the way. Okay. Okay. I think I have a game plan here. Alright. 7:54. I just wanted to pick a time when he's supply blocked. Thanks, Easy Cheesy. Alright, 7:54. One more. Keeping it classy.
So today, on What If Wednesday, we're gonna have 2 people play a game, and then the loser gets to rewind the game, recover from replay, and pick a point where the opponent was very supply blocked.
Go, go. Alright, 7:54. I wonder if he's gonna be upset when we get here. So I have like 83 drones, I have +1 range on the way, I don't have my infestation pit, I have a really good situation. I just need to... Okay, I'm gonna get Lings and burrowed Lings at his future expansions. And then he won't be able to afford Storm as fast. Because I think he's been skimping on observers. I don't know. I haven't been paying that close attention. I guess I should have checked that. But he's been shutting down my drops pretty well. I think I will still go for one Bane drop. He's not sure what was happening at 7:54. He's supply blocked. Just load the most crucial supply block. My supply situation is awesome here. I have my economy. I have basically everything that I need. Okay. Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Go when ready. Okay. Go. 3, 2, 1.
받아들일 수 없는 명령임.
Okay, he still has that prison thing up there, right? Yeah.
진화 완료.
Infestation pit is going. Okay, get this. Get this.
변이
Get a
완료.
base. Get this drone out of the gosh dang army group.
인간 병력이 공격받고 있어. 새로운 여왕 준비됨.
A random Archon. Oh no. His supply blocked! Yes.
수 없는
Everything is going according to plan.
진화 완료.
Okay, I got Burrow. Time to be an asshole. Are you ready for the ultimate plan? This is my 5th? Yeah, okay. Okay, we're good. We're good, we're good. This is what I want to do. Okay. Oh, I don't have bane speed. Pooper scooper. Oh shit, I should have checked that. Okay, he's going for a big attack. Does he have observer?
He doesn't. Oh my god.
Is he gonna break through this? He's gonna go. Where's my Hydra speed? Oh shit, I don't have it. Oh my god. Okay, shit. He wouldn't fall for the same trick twice, though. Yeah. Burrow is an underused mechanic for Zerg against Protoss, just saying. Just saying here, you know. He's got stuff there. I'm trying to get this into here. Get the Hydras to do something. Can I sneak these around? I feel like that just made my week. Let's get some more roots. How many workers do I have? 72? I don't keep track of workers when we're doing this mode. Doesn't matter that we landed the Bane Bomb of a lifetime. It's fine. It doesn't really matter what happens at this point. I'll still try to win though.
수 없는 명령임. 받아들일 수 없는 명령임. 광물 충분치 않음. 받아들일 수 없는 명령임.
Let's get one of these. Do some of this.
받아들일 수 없는 명령임.
What?
군단 병력이 공격받고 있음. 군단 병력이 공격받고 있음. 광물 더 필요함. 광맥 노가든.
Thought I got adrenal. What? No?
군단 병력이
Oh, I guess not.
공격받고 있음.
Oh god. Okay. Is that carrier? Can't really tell.
굴락시가 직접 공격받고 있음. 유전자
I'm just gonna do a paranoianitis.
받아들일 수 없는 명령임. 받아들일 수 없는 명령임.
I'm gonna get some detection.
광물 부족함. 받아들일 수 없는 명령임.
Hmm?
굴락시가 직접 공격받고 있음.
Oh, that's annoying.
병력이 공격받고 있음. 광맥. 군단이 진화했음. 에너지 충분치 않음. 광물지대. 군단 병력이 공격을 부족함. 굴락시가 에너지 충분치 않음.
Transfuse. Oh, why are they not hacking?
군단 병력이 공격받고 있어. 군단 병력이 에너지 부족함.
He definitely has an observer now. Good on ya.
광물 충분치 않음.
Okay. I have a bunch of spines. I think I should start to represent them in the direct path, right? Because my mutas are controlling the air. So I want to make sure the spines are helping with the direct ground. Because I did lose a lot of my stuff. I didn't mean to make this many mutas. Oops. Whoops. Oh god.
공격받고 있어.
Sorry.
에너지 충분치 않음.
Muta switch. Is it actually a good thing?
군단 병력이 공격받고 있어. 광맥 소진됨.
Fly. Fly.
공격받고 있음. 베스핀 바늘 정보가 군단 병력이 공격받고 있음.
Oh, dude.
더 필요함.
Okay, fill this.
광맥 고갈됨.
Where are these coming from? Is he just walking them across the map?
조명이 공격받고 있음.
Does he have this other base?
조명이 공격받을 수 없는 명령임. 광물 부족함. 에너지 부족함. 공격받고 있음. 광맥 소진됨. 군단 병력이 공격받고 있음. 베스킨 간을 쳤 소진됨. 천막 조명이 공격받고 있음. 구황 병력이 더 필요함. 천막 조명이 공격받고 있음.
See if I can backstab with the mutas again.
광물 군단 병력이 공격받고 있음.
What? What are you doing, mutas? Stupid. What are you doing? Why are you there?
군락지가 직접 공격받고 있음.
Yeah, that's not very nice.
베스킨 간을 쳐 고갈됨. 군락지가 직접 공격받고 있음. 병력이 공격받고 있음. 일벌레
He stormed his own stuff. GG, dude. Worth. I think without the mutas, that was super, super funny. Nice meme. To Reddit. To Reddit you must go. If you build mutas and he builds a lot of cannons, then the mutas are useless. I mean, we saw that. We saw that happen. So yes. Mutas against Protoss, I think having 2 or 3 is kind of nice for Prism defense and stuff, but if you're looking at the 200 supply equation, mutas fall off very hard. They're quite bad. It's like 2 or 3 supply each. Hey, dude.
Hey man, that was some intense games. I'm just gonna grab a glass of water really quickly. I will be back in just a second. And let's Q&A in chat, and we can just kind of talk about different things, changes, anything else you guys want to ask. Shout them out in chat now, and we'll have a bit of a discussion. I'll be right back. One sec, dude.
Sweet. Did he leave me on? What's up, pig stream? How'd you like the Bane Mom? I saw in the replay that he had no observer. Or at least I saw that he wasn't doing much to take the future expansion, so I just burrowed a Ling. And then he didn't kill my burrowed Ling. And it's like, why not? Why not try it? He really liked attacking down that same path over and over again. Is the clip not working? The sadness.
Those burrowed Banes. Jesus, man. Oh man, it's so funny because I kept being like, you know, the creep has always been a problem. I'm like, I'm gonna remember to queue up an observer a bit earlier this game, and I'll rally it over to my Colossus. Just as my army's directly on top of the Banelings, my observer arrives. I'm like, this moment of just pure fear, man. Shit, I was just like, what is this? Oh god, I almost died.
I think it's a very situational upgrade, because most Protosses are in the habit of bringing an observer for the creep and stuff, but if it's an aggressive kind of back and forth match, I would say the more aggressive and messy it is, the less likely they are to have their observer with them on time, because they want to have a lot of those aggressive fighting units. But I just wanted to take Burrow for the delay of your expansions, because the number of bases Protoss has means they have more answers to your hive tech and stuff. So like more Storm, more Colossi, and then carrier switch and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It was really annoying. I hate that. Every time I go to thicken your base, there's a Bard Zergling. I was just like, seriously?
One thing that a lot of people don't really know, I don't know how much you talk about this and emphasize it, but The first couple of depths in Oracle are so critical to who ends up ahead or behind in a ZvP.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of matchups, like, you'll forget about losing 6 or 8 drones to that early pressure, and then everything the Protoss does looks strong. And then people are always second guessing, well, should you have gone for a different composition? When you're just kind of playing a wounded game. But this felt reasonably even, like leading into the mid game.
I think it was, yeah, definitely the first time around, my Adepts killed like 5 or 6 drones, and then my Oracle got another 6, and I was like, well, this is good for me, you know?
Your chat is
Like,
saying that they can't hear me again.
Oh, sorry, dudes. Fucking terrible in my production today. There we go. You guys can hear him now.
Sweet.
But yeah. So this time around, it was funny, right? Because I remember being like, "Ooh, I got dropped right at this point last time," and I was like, "Oh," but I'm like, "Nah, I can't scout for that drop." But then I saw your Zerglings come out, and I was like, "No, if I see 10 Zerglings come across the map, I need to check for the drop. Like, I need to either put down a shield battery in the main or send something to scout for that, and just get the Phoenix to get rid of that first Overlord." And luckily, found the second Overlord when you were trying to do the cheeky backdoor drop. So there was like one of those games that Archon drop absolutely destroyed you. Now, why did you take the front third rather than the horizontal, vertical third?
Because of your probe. It's kind of...
It was the probe, right?
Yeah, if you're going to delay it for a while, you could also put a pylon, and it'll just delay the base so long that it seems better to take the less ideal base, but just get your larva going and get your income going. You're right that it is more difficult to defend. I don't know, this one's kind of annoying too, because you have that cliff you can retreat to with the Archon Prism. I'm not sure if it's actually that much better against Protoss.
Yeah, is that whole thing like high ground in terms of vision? It is, right? Like this whole mushroom blob? I think it is.
It's hard to tell. There are a lot of
It's
those
just like-
locations on certain maps where you think your Overlord is safe and then a Marine is just shooting at it and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, because the perspective as well, right? Because we're not using a true top-down, so there's that combined with like it's just hard to tell if the Terrian's actually high ground or not.
Yeah, do
I
you ever
really
zoom
think
in?
it all is.
Do you zoom in? Like you have the zoom
that
into a
help?
ground level button. Sometimes it helps you get some perspective. Like I think where my Overlord is now, that's high ground. And then like some of these rock pedestals are, but I'm not sure if all of the bramble bushes and shit count as high ground.
Yeah. So yeah, so the Archon drop came and stuff. I think definitely I floated a ton of money this time around, but it's not like either of us was playing perfect games. And you know, it's one of those things. It's a trade-off. You're gonna be a real dick with your Archons.
That Archon skin looks awesome with the pink.
It actually does look really cool, doesn't it? Big pink halo on their back.
Yeah. Oh, so I think your chat was saying that you didn't know why I picked 745. You were really supply blocked at that point. And I had like everything that I needed in terms of infrastructure. So it's like, oh, well, this is a very favorable spot. How can I extend my lead instead of trying to ram into you? Because I kept trying to jam Ling Bane into your base, and that worked the first time. And I think the second time, but then you stopped it.
I was supply blocked for like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
I had a really delicious large lunch just before we started. I'm gonna blame that. I'm gonna say it was a sluggish macro carried over from eating a large lunch. That's yeah, 2.5K minerals. Wow, well done, Pig. And I love how the first thing I did as well was just build a nexus and only then build pylons like next to the nexus. Like it's like it didn't even comprehend in my brain at first. Like, no, you actually need to unsupply block yourself. I'm like, let's take the base with my money. Pig, what are you doing, man? What's really interesting with the disruptors is if you ever end up on pure Hydra, or if like you open roaches and ravages, like disruptors are amazing, right? Whenever you're on the Zergling heavy, I don't think they're that good. So I think what I would change in how I would play is I would like not bother with disruptors at all, and I would just always do a 4 Colossus timing, like because I feel like once the Zerglings and Banelings are gone, Colossus do a good enough job, right?
Yeah.
They're pretty thick. So it's like the disruptors are only good once the Ling Bane's dead. The disruptors do not help clear the Ling Bane, unless I get like a lucky shot or something like that, where I dodge the Zerglings and hit a clump of Banes or something, which is way too micro intensive. I'm more focused on force field, right? So yeah, I think definitely Colossus against this style, and only adding the disruptors in if you're going against a roach defense opening. So if I were to do maybe something with, say, Adepts, or maybe I forced roaches out with the Archons, one way I would do that a lot of the time is I do an 8-gate Archon charge with that drop, and I have a second prism, and I do a delayed transition into the Colossus and sentries and everything, right?
Yeah, I think
So
I
maybe
saw
that
that's
would've
your
worked
salt
better.
build or something. Your way to piss off Zergs.
How to piss off Zergs, man. 2 Adepts into the Oracle. Oh, speaking of which, so with the Adepts in the Oracle, by the way, it's a little tidbit, right back to the start before we look at this stuff. So, do you pay attention to the fact that I wasn't upgrading Warpgate at the start of these games?
No.
Most people don't. Alright.
Why did you
Check
not do
this out.
that?
To get the Stargate down faster. So this is a really big tell
Oh.
for Zerg players out there. Notice how it's spinning right now when you come in, but then I actually cancel it. It stops spinning. Stargate goes down. So I go for a very delayed warp gate with this build. I get a second adept, then I start the warp gate. So it's about 40 seconds delay in. So this is a big tell. Basically, if you ever just see the cyber core not spinning, it's like bam. That's a fast oracle. I gotta be like more on my toes for that. Interestingly, I've lately been experimenting with like 3 queens on the defense, and just have like really good overlord and zergling positioning to kind of see where the oracle's coming and just move my queens to respond. And I haven't actually been building spores until after the first oracle comes in, just to try to get a little bit ahead on economy. Is that something you've tried, or do you think it's just kind of better to always go safe spore to your flavor?
Well, usually I do 1 spore in the main, 1 spore in the natural, and then 2 queens at the third. So I do cut one of them, just because 2 queens is kind of the same amount of effect as having a queen and a spore. But yeah, I think having a better sense of what the opponent's build is and when to put them down necessarily is a really big point, where I feel like that's the difference between being a reasonably good player and being an excellent player, where you can capitalize on those very small changes and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you're still in the base at 4 minutes. Was it a little bit late, or is that just how big this map is?
Big map, probably slightly later than I should have been. That oracle definitely doesn't feel like it was on time, does it? I don't know, man. I know one game I had it really early, but yeah, if it's not proxied, it usually does get there, I guess, about 4? I don't know. It feels like it's a little bit earlier. Hey. Anyways. Also, yeah, the chrono boosts, right? Like, if the core's getting chrono boosted, you almost always know it's like a robo slash, usually kind of like it's a twilight opening, possibly with rope. Usually an adept opening or something like that. Whereas if they're chrono boosting the gateway, you know those adepts are a lot more of a threat in that early stage. So I think that first overlord is really important, just for, you know, making sure you've got the zerglings for those adepts. Like, as the games went on, you were taking less and less damage from the adepts, right? Because you always had like at least 4 zerglings per adept just sitting there waiting, defensive, and basically you stop me from killing all your drones, which is so different to a lot of players that go, oh yeah, there's some chrono, there's a second adept coming, that's fine, I've got queens and 4 zerglings. I shade in, kill 6 drones, then you're not ready for the oracle and everything spirals out of control, right? Like, it's just this like never-ending damage hits, the next wave hits and you're not quite ready for it, over and over again. Yeah.
There's one thing that you did that a lot of other Protoss players who are like 5k or lower never do, and that's have a sense of what your most droppable cliff is for Lings and Banes. So on this map, it seems like this area is probably the best for Zerg to either Ling or Bane drop that third base. So you killed an Overlord over there already, and you have the Archon over here, so you don't have a Phoenix there now, but I think taking a pass at that area is a really responsible move if you're looking to protect your economy. Because it's very non-random. Like, a lot of people will complain about proxies or drops and stuff, but if you think about the maps, they kind of come from predictable angles.
Exactly, like, especially because you're such a Baneling counter and drop focused player, I started getting cannons every game, like in the main and the third base, right? And I'd always have my Phoenix watching for a drop, and it would do less and less damage. Whereas like our games yesterday and other times on ladder, times on ladder, I'd be like, man, lose 15 probes, lose another 15 probes, lose another 12 probes. It was just like over and over and over again. I was like, oh my god. Because you're just non-stop with your run buys, right? Like you play a real, like I'm just gonna keep throwing these harassments at you, these things at you, and get up to Brood Lords, right? It's so hard for the Protoss to find that window to push you. So even if there's these windows where I could technically beat you army to army, you're like, well, I'm not going to give you that chance to move across the map. And I think this is the big problem a lot of Zerg players have with Colossus play, especially. They go, well, there's force fields, there's Colossus, there's Stalkers. There's like this power point, this push, I can never stop it. It always hits me right at this point. How do you stop this bullshit army? And I'm like, well, up until the third or fourth Colossus comes out, and up until they have the full energy central, and the 25s Blink Stalkers, like the army is not that great, right? You can just surround it on creep and kill it. And then it has this moment where it's strong, and that's not too long for me, the Vipers or Brood Lords being out, right? Two things would just shut it down. So I'm always like, well, what if your army just happens to be on the map, and when the Protoss moves out, you just counterattack it? And the Protoss player has to go home. You can't base trade a Zerg. And that almost always buys enough time for Brood Lords. So I feel like the way you're always in position to through these harassment waves and these waves of pressure, it creates a situation which is terrible for the Protoss player to try and hit a timing attack, because they're like, okay, gotta hit my timing, committing everything, let's not get further tech, and then they get pulled home over and over. And as a Protoss player, you have this timer in the back of your head which says, Brood Lords are almost there, you need to go kill him. Brood Lords are almost there, you need to go kill him. And then you're like, God damn it, I can't base trade though, and you keep having to pull home. So I think you did a really good job of just constantly occupying me in these games.
Well, the one thing that's not super widespread in the community knowledge is Hydra Bane versus Hydra Lurker, and how they both have Hydras in them, but it's a very different strategic approach to the matchup. Because if you're going Hydra Bane, the whole purpose of it is +2 attack Banes, 1-hit probes. So that's kind of what your mid-game should be, is trying to strike at their probes with your really good Banes and survive with Hydras on creep. Whereas Hydra Lurker, sometimes you can have the stronger army than the Protoss and fight them directly. Whereas Hydra Bane, if you just make a big Hydra Bane army and attack Colossus, you're gonna lose.
Oh yeah. So this moment here I think was a big misstep from you. I think you kind of came a bit too deep. Is it because you saw my army kind of in disarray? Or...
Well, it looked like the Colossi were kind of exposed, but it was at too great of a cost. Because I only have +1 attack on my Hydras. I think I have melee... I have melee 2. Yeah, I have melee 2. So for me to trade out a bunch of those Hydras ended up not really being worth it.
Yep.
Because now I have no more buffer for these Brood Lords. So
even there, I guess if you just backed off with the Brood Lords for a second and then these Hydras came out, like it would have been really good. Like you end up getting a really good trade on my Stalkers now, but none of those Brood Lords are still alive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these fights where I kind of lost my army, and I was often losing my army in these games, not expecting to. Your Remax was always very powerful. And, but then double Colossus production, and then the moment I get a few Storms, my army is like super powerful. You might have actually been able to bust me here right now, because I was not projecting properly behind my attack, and I didn't have like a Warp Prism to use my minerals. If I could like send in like a big Zealot counter, it would buy time, but I wasn't actually in position to do that. So you might have been able to run in, like kill a base, and since my economy wasn't so massive, that might have carried through to a win in the later stages.
Okay, I think I can kill this army right here, like right then.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this army needs to like get in a tight little corner. It's like Storm is the one thing stopping this army from just getting wrecked, man.
Yeah. The Beredlings.
Yeah.
With the Ling Bane Hydra into Brood Lord, one thing that I sometimes throw games with is I treat my Hydras like they're expendable, whereas with Hydra Bane, generally you're taking fights and you kind of trade out your Ling Bane aggressively, but you keep your Hydras intact and your Brood Lords intact. Because there's that kind of relationship of protection where the Brood Lords are the most expensive and the most precious, and you want to keep them alive at all costs. And if your Hydras are gone, then your Broods are exposed and the Stalkers are going to kill all of them. But your Ling Bane is kind of just what ends up getting cycled through over and over again. Banes are pretty effective in trading themselves out, so it's like you take trades as long as it's favorable with the Banes and as long as your Hydras are safe protecting the Broods.
Yeah. It's interesting because yeah, like Brood Lords are such a positional unit, right? Like their advantage is their range, their ability to spawn free units, right? So they kind of need to extend a battle, and like they're so fragile. You know, if I catch not just the Broodlords, but if I catch the supporting Hydras and Banes all clumped up in a ball, a couple of good storms, and suddenly Blinkstalkers look like the best unit ever for killing Broodlords, right? Because the support disappears to the storm, and the Stalkers kill everything, right? And there was a lot of fights where I got a little bit lucky kind of distracting you like that, and then I was able to kind of land some of these very nice storms. And, you know, the support was a little bit grouped up. The Broodlords, because you were distracted, weren't stutter stepped as much. Something I'm really big on, I'm obsessed with since early Legacy, is always giving my Broodlords a separate control group so I can stutter step them during a fight really easily, because you know the way how like they don't really need to turn around to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, like you turn them around for half a second, then you start running them away, and it looks like they haven't shot, but then the Broodling still fires. They have this like it's this weird thing, which any viewers who haven't played with Broodlords a lot, you guys should really hop into Unit Tester, and you'll realize just how far away Broodlords can actually attack from. They can kind of kite, and that's, I guess, like it's this weird thing when you get to this army. It's almost the same against Mech, where I feel like as the Zerg player, you kind of want the enemy to attack into your concave, right? So you're kind of like backing off with the Broodlords so they can't get in range of Storm, and your Hydras are spread so Storm can't land, and the Stalkers kind of have to blink in, but they can't really reach all the Broodlords and that sort of thing. What are your thoughts on this battle? Like, what's your main focus? Obviously, you were distracted in this one. Maybe you wanted some more Banelings to support, some more Hydras.
Yeah, well, the DTs were distracting me, but one thing that I think as Zergs we get less practice with than, say, a Mechatarian player or something, and that is that if you have a very slow army, your decision to attack a base is very committal. Like, I can't retreat with this Broodlord army. This is a ton of value, and this needs to be a very precise engagement, so pause for a second. The Broods are in a reasonable spot. Like, they have that high ground thing where Stalkers can't blink perfectly under them, so they're utilizing their property as an air unit, which is great. The Hydras don't need to be forward right here. So that is kind of the issue with me having them on the same hotkey. I think the Broodlord separate hotkey thing is like an A-game thing for me, where if I'm playing really well, it's something I remember to do. But if I'm distracted or kind of tired and not playing my best, I'm lazy and I'll just put them with the army. But like these Hydras down here, they're not really accomplishing that much. I could split the Hydras half and half, where half are on the top side of this obstacle and half are on the bottom side. And then if you attack in, then the Hydras and Broods can work together and fight you. But this is a slow push. Broodlords are slow at dealing damage, so it's just about keeping them alive, because the more value they get is based on how many like volleys of Broodlings they can throw out, as opposed to they connect and do explosive damage. They do very slow damage.
Lots of like back and forth there, right? Like if those Hydras were more spread, like you said, so up here and here for the guys on my stream, and if those Broodlords are kind of edged back now, because they could still be firing from pretty much on the edge of that terrain, but if you don't micro them back, they kind of drift forward. Like most units in StarCraft, they have a tendency to do not what you'd like them to do. They're like, oh yeah, we can just keep walking forward. It's like, no, they were a little bit further back. And there were some fights throughout this series where the Broodlords were just on a big doodad, on a big piece of high ground, and it was absolute murder trying to break them. Like, you know, the fights are so drastically different, because my Stalkers can just not focus them down, and the Broodlings keep landing. Those +2 or +3 Broodlings, oh man, they do so much damage. Yeah, so I think the counterattack and like the pressure you put on a Zerg player often allows you to catch the Broodlords in the open. For me, it's like, you know, if I can put some pressure on the Zerg, distract him a little bit, I can catch these Broodlords. Whereas I feel like if it's just both of us kind of microing back and forth, a patient Broodlord player can just pick at me and like not expose the Broodlords, right? But as soon as I throw in a big Zealot DT counterattack, bam, you've got things to worry about other than that one army, right? And you see it throughout this series multiple times where I kind of split my army in half and I come from two sides. I want you to push into the open. Like, here's a common area on this map where I can't let you on top of that high ground. That's like a really hard area for me to get rid of the Broods. But before you get there, up here, beautiful area to jump on Broodlords. So there's often times I was trying to split my army to the left and the right of there and catch you as you were moving down. I think it was the previous game for this where I got a pretty good engage down there. Obviously, at this point, I think your economy, I guess, was just a little bit too small. You took too much losses. Tried the muta swap. I don't think there was much you could do. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think mutas are super great in this situation, just because of how much I've already forced static defense out of you. I think if I played a very linear strategy, where I just kept fighting your army directly and then falling back, and you had less of those investments, then that would have looked better, but it was kind of a, I have money, and you're harassing me, so mutas, yeah. And then kind of realizing, oh, you don't really have great openings for me to strike at, because I Bane dropped early.
It's the classic where you open up oracles and then you go DTs and you're like, oracles force 4 bombs.
Yeah.
You're like, damn it! Like my earlier game plan actually doesn't play into this very well because I forced the response already. Damn it! This is a silly choice. But it was also a situation where I guess after losing that fight, like, even if you put that money in broods, it would have been a very slow rollback to this game, I think.
Yeah.
Because either way, I would have been able to clear up the brood control, assert map control, get another base or two. And at that point, my upgrades are maxing out. I'm gonna have tons of Storm, Colossi, Arc on the Stalkers, and just kind of stay on this army. It's yeah, been a bunch of good games. So let's take a look at chat. I'm sure you've got some questions in there as well. So here we've got a question. What is the current state, status, the current status of mass oracle, i.e. more than 4 or 5 oracles in a game, as either a standalone composition or as part of a transition to something else? Do you see that much at all, Neuro? Is anyone still doing heavy oracle plays?
Yeah, OMG, a banana actually did a 2-base charge lot oracle all-in with 2 stargates and a whole bunch of oracles. It's I think one of those styles that a lot of Zerg players don't know the proper response to, and if you catch them off guard, it can be super effective. Just because a lot of Zergs will be autopiloted with Hydras, and if your oracles are in large enough number, there's a window where you can stay on top of them. It's kind of like Mass Phoenix, really. Mass Oracle and Mass Phoenix are both very high mobility technical openings that a lot of Zerg players don't know how to properly respond to, so they can be really strong.
Yeah.
I think it's still reasonable to go for. If you like it, it's one of those like preference things if you're having fun with it. Maybe it's not the best style in the meta, but it's viable.
If you like tempo-based aggressive styles, I think it's really good, right? It's like mass root Zerg versus Terran. Is this the best way to play Zerg versus Terran? Well, like, no. Technically, if they scout it and they defend well, they can shut this down. Technically. Will they always do that? No. Sometimes you rock up with a ton of roaches and ravages and you just smack a bitch. And you're like, yeah! With oracles, you're going to find a base and they don't have the 2nd and 3rd spore crawler down yet. The queens aren't there. You kill 20 drones. And you go, alright, this is sick. Like, obviously as the Zerg, when I face mass oracle, my big focus is infestors. If I can lock down the oracles, that's great. I want to get out extra queens, spores, just try and defend 3-base economy. And the thing is, I think a lot of players go, oh, this guy's going to go carriers or storm, and they're like trying to rush to 80 drones off no defense. But especially if you scout them going zealots with the oracles, I think even just 3 bases worth of drones and then trying to make sure you don't lose more workers is like more than enough to start getting tons of spores, infestors, queens, and often I like a Hydra Bane infestor push against these styles, where it's just a bunch of slow banelings just kind of sitting behind my army. So if zealots charge in, I can click them in, but otherwise they just kind of follow the infestors or something, right? And it's just like land fungals, use my hydras, try to position correctly. And what's really important is not getting flanked by the oracle. So if you're slowly pushing in on one angle and you let them set up a perfect like zealot surround, they've got like yeah, not just like zealots, but also oracles coming in from 3 directions. You're like, oh shit, fungal's kind of useless, my banelings aren't as effective. You just get overwhelmed from the raw damage output. But as long as you don't let them surround you and like you purposely, like sometimes with those sort of pushes, I'll veer in one direction with my army because I'm like, I know he's going to be setting up a flank. Let's just go and try to catch that wing of the flank before it's in position. And that's how you can often screw up a player like that, right? Do you do that like against like Zerg versus Zerg? I think it's the same situation if someone goes mass mutilating Bane and you're on Roach Hydra Infestor. Like if they flank you and get the Banes on the Hydras, you just lose because your anti-air is gone. It's kind of the same thing with Oracles and Zealots.
Yeah. I tend to favor going for like a 5 gas Roach Queen Nidus play against a muta opening and getting up to like 12 queens with that. A lot of times that allows you to put a lot of pressure onto a player going for mass meter earlier than going all the way up to infestors. And we don't have burrowed fungal anymore, which is kind of a bummer. So it's not quite as strong as it was before, I feel like.
Yeah. I think infestors is still a really good unit though. A lot of people are like, how are we going to use them? You know, the AoE is bigger. So it's still very nice.
I think they support Broodlords better, so with the improved Infested Terran, they're kind of better as a super late game unit than they were before. But those kind of mid-game surprise burrow fungals aren't really part of the game anymore.
Yeah.
But they're really good as like a late game value dump. If you see you have 2k gas and a greater spire making 14 to 15 infestors to just protect your Broodlords is super nice.
Did you notice the difference in Stalkers versus Lings with the change, says Dreamcast? I did not really, because I don't really play this composition much. So for me, it's like, hey, let's try and use Disruptors. And they kind of go with Colossi because it's the same tech path. And that goes with Stalkers and Sentries. And I've been meaning to try and use this composition a bit more, but I can't say I'm used to it enough. So it feels better in the late game for focusing down Broodlords, that's for sure. Because I'm not one of these guys who's so good that he says it's going to take 18 Stalkers to one-shot a Broodlord. So I'm going to split my 36 Stalkers into 2 control groups, and I'm going to shift-click those on separate Broodlords to be most efficient. No. I literally just control-click my Stalkers, blink and forward, and shift-click. And there's massive overkill. So now with the faster shooting, slightly lower damage Stalkers, it's like easier to target down Liberators or Broodlords in the late game without having quite as much overkill. Because the Stalkers are just going to shoot a little bit quicker, acquire another target just that little bit quicker. So Neuro, talking about this Archon harassment and this pain, and this is the same on any time you end up with a base like this where they can quickly rotate between the two with a drop. Same if a Terran's dropping you, right? My thought is if you earlier on put 2 queens on the edge of your main, then you could have deflected it a little bit easier. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, one of the bad habits that I think is easy to develop if you ladder a whole bunch and you face opponents of a wide variety of skill is sometimes you'll act in such a way that you can punish players below your level, but it puts you in a bad spot against players at or above your level. So an example would be a lot of players aren't quite as good at the damage prediction and range prediction of the queens focusing the prism. So a lot of times I'll just say, I'm going to have all my queens shoot the prism, and they'll mess up and I kill it and it's great. But if you're with someone or against someone who has a better sense of the queen range, the pickup range, and how much damage they can squeeze out like you are, because you also play Zerg, then you get to punish my laziness, basically. So yeah, I fully agree having, what you said, 2 queens there, and then the rest of them at the third, to kind of bring some conclusion to this harassment, as opposed to chasing you back and forth forever.
Yeah. I think the Spore Crawler was really good on the third. Like, that one ended up really limiting my options. But definitely, yeah, this is something like against the Oracle as well, because that would have deflected the non-stop stasis traps that I kept throwing in the main base, because they got quite a bit of damage across the field. So it's one of these things. I'll always do this if there's a Raven. If I see a Liberator heading across the map, basically, you know, I actually do this against any Terran who shows a starport or no add-on. I'm like, I know you're building a medevac or a Liberator nice and early, right? And I'm like, all right, 1 queen off my control group that's just going to sit on the edge of the main. Whenever I inject in the main queen, I send it back to the edge just so I can kind of welcome, you know, the Liberator or the medevac Hellion drop or whatever. And I just find like sometimes like leaving just an extra queen on what might be the not as likely drop path, but just being like, all right, I know this guy's got the potential to do this. For me, it's been something which helps me out because I'm not the fastest player in terms of reacting and watching the enemy map. For me, it's a lot more about like understanding, you know, preparing ahead of time and stuff so that I can get the most out of my APM, right? Focusing on the Protoss side of things, it's very clear things I need to remember with this build is to put down a lot of pylons and do my gateway explosion during this pressure. I was getting better at getting my support bay, my forge, and then my second robo during the early stage of the Archon pressure, but I need to remember to be dropping 6 extra gateways and like 7 extra pylons right after that. Your macro doesn't need to be super clean in these circumstances because I'm stasis trapping constantly. I'm microing an Archon constantly, right? I was doing good harassment pressure, and that's fine. But as long as you've got these like little sections where you do a big chunk of macro all at once, you're going to stop yourself being supply blocked on 93 for 4 minutes straight and getting, you know, 2,500 minerals in the bank, which happened like multiple times in this series. So, yeah, some good games though. An interesting map. I feel like I know the map a lot better now after playing this series. What are your thoughts on Backwater?
I think this one seems to be one of the most kind of standard macro maps where it feels like you can get up a pretty good army. The one thing that stood out to me a lot in the games that we played was most of the attack paths are fairly narrow. So Queen Hydra kind of trips over itself quite a bit. You do have some big open areas like around the watchtowers, and then right at the center, it's pretty open. But if you can close the gap and get to their bases, pretty much all of the avenues are small, which is good for broods, it's good for these Colossus timings and that kind of thing, good for force fields. So it's got a nice mixture of big areas and small areas. And the Russians is large enough that it feels like you can play macro games fairly normally. I like this map. It's a good aesthetic too, which I think counts for something if you're, especially if you're playing StarCraft a whole bunch. It's nice having some different landscapes. Yes, I did, because I had no music, so I can hear all the different creatures chirping and gurgling.
It's actually hilarious. Yeah, the sounds on this map are great. There's so many like little birds. I remember I was playing someone on ladder, and he was like, "Do you hear birds? Are there bird noise?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it's the map." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "I thought I was going crazy." I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Don't you remember on Acolyte there was that big monster on the edge of the map that would occasionally like float over the edge of the map, and he'd be like, make this weird noise." And I used to always think I was crazy until someone told me, no, there's this monster on the edge of the map that makes that noise once every minute or so. And I'm like, what? And then I like stared at the edge of the map at my base, and I was like, there it is. There's this giant monster that just like floats along the edge. Like, and I was like, God damn. I literally thought I was paranoid. I remember like pausing games multiple times and pausing games and like opening my window and looking around and being like, is there an animal outside? Like I was super confused for weeks on end until someone actually told me.
Do I have a computer virus?
What's going on? So, a Stalker's Sentries and Colossi, a good army composition versus Zerg. Yeah, this is a really good composition for killing Hydras, Lings, and Banelings, because you don't really have any light units that the Banelings are good against, and you use a mixture of Colossus splash damage to fry everything. And while Stalkers aren't good damage dealers, they're just a good ranged unit you can kind of fill in with. And Sentries are the real core of it. A unit which I'm not that good at using, as we can tell from the countless overlapping force fields. And we were playing, unfortunately my ping to US has been a little bit spotty today. So whenever I was doing the panic force fields, there were like overlapping heaps and everything. And God, there's so many holes, so many Banelings getting through, man.
That's not that bad. I've seen worse. I was commending your mental fortitude playing with high ping all the time. I get tilted if I get Australians like 3 games in a row.
Wait until you see me play a Brazilian, mate.
Oh.
Like, oh, what is this? 400 ping? Yeah, it's I don't mind it if it's consistent. It's just hard when it's not consistent. Today it's been really spiky. Like really spiky, so it's been kind of terrible. Yeah, so I redid this engagement multiple times because you kept flanking so friggin' well. And this one, part of the reason it worked is I brought the Oracle back to my army and was tagging your army to kind of see where you were coming from. So it at least gave me some warning, which was the big difference. So I realized that I should always remember when I'm doing a force field based push, especially if my ping's a bit high, if I can tag your army, it just makes it so easy because then I can do the thing where I just zone out one half, engage the other half, which I kept trying to do, and I kept overextending into this area here in all of the games, and you kept surrounding me and obliterating me. So I was very happy to finally, this was the one game where I made this push work, and I was a little bit relieved. I know I've got a long way to go with my Stalker Sentry Colossus pushes, but yeah, it was nice to finally break through. Your Queens did a great anti-Colossus damage, by the way. And the transfuse tanking as well.
Actually got some inspiration from my Saturday casting and analysis. So I do casting and analysis of sub games, and there was a EU Masters player who he's really good at getting the drones out, getting a good economy, getting maxed, and making queens. And he lost multiple games where he had like 9 queens with lots of energy, and it's like, wow, these are 175 hit points each, and they're not light units, so they don't take bonus damage. If you just attack move these in first and then go, you crush this engagement.
It's actually crazy, isn't it? Like, it's so funny because I forget that all the time. But it's like the siege tank pushes, like, oh man, yeah, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know if I can hold this push. The difference between moving 3 or 4 queens up in front and actually chaining a few transfuses, and if your opponent doesn't retarget those tanks, dude, the siege tanks are going to spend the entire fight shooting a couple of queens, doing nothing. And your Ling Bane will crash through, and you're like, whoa, queens are amazing, you know?
Yeah.
If they can tank, like, they're so great. And this is why the Ling drop, the Queen drop with the Zergling flood works. You do that build a lot. You were doing that to me yesterday.
Yep.
And part of the reason that build works so well is you drop the Queens, and because they're in front, the Adepts are targeting them. And one of the most important pieces of micro, which players, including myself, forget to do, is to, once the Zerglings break through or are dropped over as well, you need to move your Adepts back and then fire again. So you need to stutter step them so that they retarget on the units that are closest to them. And if you don't do that, all of your Adepts and anything else will sit there fighting the Queens while the Zerglings kill everything. And it's the Zerglings that are the damage dealers. They're fragile, they're weak. The Queens will just transfuse each other all day long. And it's actually crazy, because when I remember to do that, easy hold. I'm like, shut down that Queen drop with that Link Flood. But yeah, if you actually ever let your units target Queens, then you can end up in massive trouble. So often, pulling away from the Queens in a battle where it's very close and then giving another attack move command will let your units reacquire different targets and be much more effective.
Pro tips.
Any good questions in your chat or anything? My chat's pretty chill. Everyone's just kind of like watching in the background, I guess. Everyone's like, no, you guys are just discussing things. We don't have specific questions.
Yeah, about the same. Some people saying that they're, as an Australian, you have to get used to the high ping. It's just part of the game for you.
Life, man. To be fair, I've been playing Korea a bit more, and it's so smooth because it's always the same server.
You have the good internet in Australia, though, right? Because I know
I do.
there's like that national network that's pretty legit.
Yeah, I've got the good stuff from when they first started implementing it before they turned it down. So I specifically moved into a place that got the good internet, which is already starting to get outdated by most first world countries, but compared to the rest of our country, it's miles ahead. So it's not too bad. Wow, I've got people just being like, they are billions. No, guys, ask some questions.
What would you do against a zombie all-in?
I would immediately go get my knives. I got some nice sharp knives in my knife block. I'd sharpen them a little bit to make sure they're good. Do you have any armor around the house, Neuro? You got like any like ice hockey armor? Is like what people always wear, right?
Oh, I have a crab hat, and I have an overseer hat.
That's about the extent of my armor as well. I'm like, I've got a bacon costume, actually.
I have acoustic foam. If people shout at me, I can muffle the sound a little bit.
What would be your #1 weapon, for real? In your house? Like, what would you grab? You have a baseball bat?
I feel like using a vacuum cleaner, like a huge mace, would be really funny.
Oh, you're just bludgeoning someone with your bloody vacuum cleaner. That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of a big old one too, so it's not like one of those light, new, sleek ones. It's big and heavy. You hit a zombie with that, they're gonna fly against the wall.
I want to get like a small anvil. Just be like, yeah, I have a small anvil here. I don't think I could even pick up a small anvil. I'm talking like a miniature anvil. Maybe just like a little cube of lead, and I just like get close up to zombies and I just throw it into their face. Just kind of like caves their skull in a little bit. Alright. This is a good little experimental show. I kind of like this because honestly, it's a good chance for us to practice our builds and replay different scenarios. First time trying it this way. Guys in chat, please provide any feedback on things you'd like to see different. Obviously, I still like the old format of the show where I actually, you could watch one stream and kind of see the commentary, and in one location you can kind of have me ask the players, hey, why do you want to restart? at this point, oh, okay, and I can communicate that. Instead, with this one, you guys kind of had to multi-twitch it a bit, swap to whoever lost, turn their audio on to see what they wanted to change up. I think it's still pretty cool for all the hardcore viewers. Was there a question? I didn't catch the full thing. How do you hire MMR players choose a build? I play Zerg. I always struggle early trying to figure out what to do after my 17th match. Ooh, Neuro, you can take that one.
Well, most cases, it's down to who can get their worker count up. There are some differences in the race mechanics of Chrono Boost versus Mules versus Injects, but a good build order is one that keeps you at worst at an even position and at best allows you to get ahead. So a lot of that is kind of deciding if I'm going to make units, I need to make something happen with them or defend something with them. Otherwise, I need to manage my supply really well and get out a whole bunch of drones, because more drones means more options and more army over the course of the game. So supply management is a really important one, and the thing that helps me the most with supply management is thinking about the jobs of the overlords that I'm making. So my 19 overlord watches outside my natural for units coming in. My 31 overlord watches outside my third, and then I have a 44 overlord that watches dead space and 49 that watches dead space. And if I hit all of those, then my droning is really clean and I have tons of options. One of the easiest ways you can lose games is you see Hellions drive across the map and you're supply blocked. You're just dead. You're going to lose all your drones. So a good build is just kind of having that room to make decisions and having drones where you can decide to make army or drone further and that sort of thing.
I think that's an awesome answer. Yeah, I think that was pretty awesome. So a few other questions coming in now, because I complained that people weren't asking enough questions. I guilted people into engaging their critical thinking and trying to find a way to learn something. It's a beautiful opportunity. This may be overly broad. What techniques are most effective for each race to split opponent's armies such that you can defeat them in detail? So toss sentry is the most obvious, of course. But I'm sure you can go split their army. Oh, how to split the army up? I mean, I think really, Grimmy D, you should be looking to distract them. I don't think usually you need to split someone's army. Normally it's just armies clashing, right? You can punish people for not splitting their army with any form of splash damage, right? Any sort of siege tank push, anything firestorm, anything using banelings or fungal growth or something like that, or lurkers. These are all ways to punish someone who clumps up. But generally speaking, if you want to split someone's attention, there's a ton of tools, and the best I think we saw in that game was the Warp Prism and the baneling drops and baneling run bys and all that sort of stuff. But as a Protoss, if you just have a Warp Prism in a random corner of the map and you periodically warp in a few zealots with charge and just click them into one of their expansions, it gives you so much value for so little cost, both APM and minerals, cost you almost nothing. So hopefully that helps you out, my dude. A couple of last questions. Do you feel like you have to get Stargate from Harass to pressure Zerg, or can you go straight into a 3 Colossus push of 2-3 bases? You always should pressure Zerg with your build. Doesn't matter if you're playing Zerg versus Zerg, Terran versus Zerg, or Protoss versus Zerg. The reason you need to pressure Zerg is because Zerg is bullshit. And what you want to understand is every race is bullshit in their own way. Zerg's specific brand of bullshit is that they can just build 1 billion workers or just build 1 billion fighting units. And it's really hard to scout which one they're going for. Because with Terran, he's built 5 barracks. I know he's building a big army to kill me. Okay, that's he's got a Protoss. You see a ton of gateways, same thing. With a Zerg, you're like, yeah, he has 3 bases. Now is he going to build 400 Zerglings off those 3 bases or 400 drones? I don't know. So this is where pressure comes into the equation, because pressure not only scouts what your opponent's doing and tells you, he's doing this, but it punishes your opponent. If he goes for too many drones, you kill a whole lot of those drones. If he goes for too much army, you scout that army and you can go defensive behind your pressure. So whether it's adept pressure, doesn't have to be Stargate. You could pressure with adepts, you can pressure with an Archon drop. There's so many different options, but you always do need to have some form of pressure before going into the 2 to 3 base push stage. That's always something which has to come after you've kind of kept your opponent in check. You can probably get to a high level without doing that, but there will be games where your opponent gets away with being really greedy and you're like, he just has so much stuff, what's going on? StarCraft is always more fun, more engaging when you interact with your opponent, and it's also something where you learn faster, because you start to see what you should have reacted to, rather than the game just being, I'm in my corner building my base, and I have no idea what my opponent is doing.
You want the relevant Sun Tzu quote?
Say what?
You want the relevant Sun Tzu quote?
Oh, hells yes.
Agitate him and ascertain the pattern of his movement. If you poke him, he will show you what he's working with, basically.
Hells yeah. Sun Tzu, of course. He's actually always still completely applicable. He's
Until you get to air units and teleportation technology.
Alright, ignoring units, perfect analogies from all of his writings. But there was another question. Someone said, do you need Stargate units, or could you use Stargate units to deal with Broodlords? Yes, if you can get out 3 Tempests and an Oracle to tag them, you can snipe them from afar. But it's very micro-intensive. You gotta be good with your control groups. And if they build a bunch of Corruptors and you don't kind of have any Void Rays or good Archon underneath or anything like that, suddenly it can just be like, oh god damn, my Tempest just got sniped and I died. You can also go Carriers, and then once again, Void Rays to help against Corruptors. But those are a bit later in the game, and I like to focus on the mid game because I feel like there's so much for me to improve there, which is why I wanted to focus more on Stalkers. Also because in these games, Neuro was going for Broodlords, but was often still very heavy on the Hydra Bane, and wasn't like this, like, I'm just going to sit there with my Broodlords and be unbreakable. Because he was trying to push me, there was more opportunities for us to kind of trade. Whereas obviously, if he's like, I'm never going to move out and make 24 Broodlords, and I'm going to have Infestors and Spine Crawlers everywhere. In that case, I keep building Blink Stalkers, it's probably a pretty bad idea. I probably should go to Carriers and Tempests and that sort of stuff myself. But in these more movement-focused, action-packed games, I think Stalkers are more than enough when combined with Storm and everything else. Alright. Shall we finish up, my friend?
Sure.
Alright, I think this was a fun show. Thank you so much for coming on. We can always do another one in the future, potentially easy. It's mech. Or if I start playing Bio, we could do that at some point. I'm going to be going through and trying to play matchups with good, solid GM players, doing this format of show. So, yeah, love to have you back on at some point, man.
Cool, sounds great. Yeah, it made me feel like 2 people striving for the best version of their approach to the matchup, where every time you lose, you can kind of think about something to correct, and as we progressed, it kind of got cleaner and cleaner from the early to mid to late game, and we're kind of striving for that ideal ZvP or whatever the matchup is. But yeah, cool stuff. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'll keep answering some questions in chat if you guys have extra questions. If I miss them, repost them. Thanks for hanging out, man. Have a great evening, and have a good one. I'll catch you next time, dude.
Swarm them.
Later, dude.
Swarm. Later.
Cool. Which Hydra upgrade is more important to get first after the patch? It kind of depends on what your base layout is and what you're doing. The speed upgrade means that you can run around your bases faster and defend stuff if they're attacking you in multiple